Ikigai have just sent me their latest release to show you guys. If you're not familiar with this particular brand, it is a Japanese micro brand set up in 2020 by Oscar Tan. This is now the second Ikigai I've featured on my channel, and Oscar likes to design original looking dive watches. The first Ikigai I showed you was another original looking diver. That watch has now sold out, but this current watch, called Kame, has just launched, and Kame means turtle, and it's not just turtle by name, it's turtle by design. I'll talk to you about the design in a minute. 3 different color versions available, launching for $450 US. I'll run through the specifications in a moment, but before I do, I'm just going to share with you some initial thoughts on this watch. I've owned it for a little while now. Like I've already said, it's not just turtle by name, it's turtle by design. If you hold the watch in a very particular way, it does look a little bit like a sea turtle. You've got the sort of flappy paddle fins at the front, the crown looks a little bit like the turtle head, and the bezel looks a little bit like the shell. Very intentional, no doubt about it. Yeah, there's other elements to this watch that are a little bit turtle-esque, like the design on the dial. Oscar's definitely taken that turtle theme to a whole new level. There's some other little design elements on this watch that I really like. One thing that impressed me, or does impress me, is the use of the 5-minute markers to help spell out the name Ikigai on the rehaul. How cool is that? Great loom on this watch as well. I'll show you the loom degrading at the end of the video. It does a really good job of keeping up with my MM300. Really strong, bold hands and applied indices. I like those. On the fly adjustment and double-ended quick release spring bars. Nice little touches. Each one appears to be individually numbered. I suspect these will be made in fairly low numbers. So if you are interested in one of these watches, I wouldn't hang around. I'll put a link in the video description. That'll take you to the website. Yeah, for those of you interested, you will have seen the includes pay promotion icon in the top left-hand corner at the start of the video. If you want to know what that means for this particular video, head down to my video description. 3 types of finishing on this case. I always think 2 is enough. Brushing, polishing, and a bead blasted element. And the bezel action is a little bit clunky. I know Oscar is a bit of a perfectionist. Most micro brand owners are. They have to be, and I didn't have the patience for it, which is why I didn't continue with J and G watches. So I always doff my cap to micro brand owners, because it is not an easy thing to do. But I do think for maybe the next watch, a little bit more focus on the bezel action, because it's got a sort of clunky feel and there is a little bit of backplay. But apart from that, it does feel like a well-made quality watch. Right, let's run through the specifications I haven't mentioned. So it is a 200-meter diver, 316L stainless steel, housing the Miyota 9039, so no ghost position on the crown. A 120-click unidirectional bezel. The bezel insert is sapphire crystal, and the crystal covering the dial is sapphire crystal. A very subtle domage to it, a little bit of distortion as well, so I suspect it's a single domed crystal. 6 positions within the clasp, which is more than enough. Solid everything on this watch, so solid end links, solid links, screw pins, milled clasp, and again 3 types of steel finishing on the bracelet and clasp, brushing, polishing, and that sort of matte bead blasted finish for the logo on the outer shell of the clasp, consistent with the case at least. Very nice design on the case back. You've got a few specifications there as well. Screw down case back, screw down crown, of course, 200 meters of water resistance. The bezel's got plenty of grip, as has the crown, so no issues with grippage there. And the dial, gorgeous, isn't it? Multi-layered dial, decent sized hands, really nicely finished applied indices and hands. Lots of layers and light play on this dial. In fact, the whole watch sort of plays with the light. You've got that sapphire crystal bezel insert, some large polished chamfered edges on the lugs, lots of little polished facets here and there on the applied indices, and yeah, on the bracelet. So it's not an overly toolish tool watch. There's some decorative elements to this watch as well, and with that sort of turtle theme, it's definitely different, isn't it? What would I have done different? I would have put a piece of flat sapphire crystal on this watch and probably a polished ceramic bezel insert. I'm not wild about sapphire crystal bezel inserts. I would have somehow tried to incorporate only two types of steel finishing, brushing and polishing. I'm not wild about that sort of matte bead blasted finish. I probably would have tried to improve the bezel action somehow. I'm not an engineer, I'm not claiming to be, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to try to achieve that, but I would certainly start by having a conversation with the factory and saying, oh, this bezel action's a little bit clunky. What can we do to make it just a little bit nicer? I think that's as far as I go. Yeah, I think Oscar Tan has created another fantastic watch. I really love the way that Oscar's incorporated the name into that rehaul. That is so cool. Yeah, lots to like about this watch, guys. As always, a massive thank you from me to you for tuning in. I do really appreciate it. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe and hit the bell notifications icon, and then you won't miss out on future uploads. Guys, have a good week.